One of the first problems, folks, as Dr. Afro rejoins you is paper. The usage and deluge of paper. All this paper you see right here was just to send one certified letter. This paper right here. Dr. Afro's voter registration card here in San Francisco. But all of this is just one paper, folks. One paper. This is Dr. Afro's passport and Dr. Afro's Social Security card and Dr. Afro's California medical certificate from the DMV. Licensed doctor to be able to drive, as Dr. Afro is a licensed truck driver. Dr. Afro is also a licensed merchant mariner, but he is currently on a list of extremists, and Dr. Afro is not allowed to be to hold a TWIC card, which would allow him to work for the unions. He's a member of the Teamsters, a good union, a great union, but it would allow him to work for the unions in the ports. And unfortunately, Dr. Afro is on public assistance, which he hates being on, and has tried to avoid being on for years. But he's on California public assistance, and he wants to get the heck off. He is a licensed, Dr. Afro is a licensed truck driver, has been a licensed truck driver since 2007. Dr. Afro wants to get back into truck driving. However, Dr. Afro, again, is not, as you can see here clearly, Dr. Afro is a truck driver. However, he is not being allowed and will not be allowed to do any truck driving, as he has a lien against his license for $1,440. Dr. Afro tried to offer a simple solution. That simple solution, folks, was that he wanted to approach his legislative rulers or his officials, but more like rulers the way they act. And basically, he wanted to say that, look, instead of going to 8 months or 6 months of job readiness training, having money spent on him from public assistance of, let's say, $600 a month for 8 or 9 months or 7 months, and going to work for once or twice a week for a few hours a week. Instead, like Dr. Afro, he has $1,440 US against his license, a lien from the county or city of Sacramento. Have the agency or the state or the government, local or municipal or whatever, pay the $1,440, the amount. Once they pay the amount, they notify all banks through a notification system, mandatory and required by law, that Dr. Afro could only have one account because he owes the government. Once he has that one account, any job he gets, it must be direct deposit so that the government can get their money back once he's employed. He is a truck driver. He can make at least $3,000 a month. Why keep him on public assistance for months upon months for $600-800 a month and waste money on him instead of letting him get to work? That's Dr. Afro's question. That is the solution he proposes, yet because he's labeled an extremist. Singapore government was forced to kick Dr. Afro out in October of 2009. Dr. Afro loved Singapore. They kicked him out on his ass. They slapped him up a bit at the behest of people he knows nothing about, who can't stand Dr. Afro. And basically, they were Singapore government, as good as they were forced to detain him and kick him out. And he has been put back into poverty. Having a wealthy, affluent Creole mulatto family back east, Dr. Afro is too much Afro, and they don't want anything to do with him. And they have thrown him to the wolves, and thus far, Dr. Afro has been thrown to the streets. All he asks is his legislative officials, not for himself, for Americans in general who have a skill set, any liens against the skill set to clear their debts or retrain them and take the money out and garner a share in a system of notified and agreed banks that to get their money back. That's all Dr. Astray wants and asks for. Is that too much to ask? We're in trouble. We can't afford to spend so much money on our populace or on our unemployed or on people in general who are just eaters, as Lyndon B. Johnson said in the 60s, and not producers or tax producing or earners. Dr. Afro is a capable earner, very productive. But Afro-Americans in general, all over the country, particularly in the Silicon Valley culture, we are not listened to if we're not pedigreed or if we are not vetted via the Ivy League institutions or social networks as not being disruptive. So Dr. Afro offers a solution, he proposes, yet not listened to. Maybe he's too African or whatever, who knows, but even Afro-Americans seem to have a problem with their African origins and their affinity for each other. Dr. Afro has experience empirically and not hearsay. So that's it, folks. The solutions are there. It's up to you. Dr. Afro has no power whatsoever, yet he's just letting you know what's going on. Thanks.